Complaint feeds the wound, argument feeds the ego, and attachment feeds suffering. There are moments in life when you realize you are not tired because of one problem, one person, or one painful memory. You keep asking why someone hurt you, why they changed, why they left, why they could not give you the answer your heart needed. And little by little, without noticing it, your inner world becomes crowded with noise. In Buddhist wisdom, the path back to peace begins with a simple but difficult realization. Not everything needs your complaint, not every person deserves your argument, and not every wound needs an explanation before it can begin to heal. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop feeding the storm. Stop giving your sacred energy to what only makes your heart heavier. Stop waiting for the outside world to become gentle before you allow yourself to be free. This audiobook is a quiet invitation to return to yourself, to release the weight you were never meant to carry, and to discover the kind of inner peace that stays with you even when life gives you no apology, no closure, and no perfect answer. Chapter 1. Know the reason you are living. Imagine walking through a storm with no direction, no map, and no memory of where you were going before the rain began. Every sound would frighten you. Every shadow would look like danger. Every strong wind would feel like proof that you should turn back. Many people live exactly this way on the inside. Their body moves through the day, but their mind has no clear center. A stranger's opinion can change their mood. A small failure can make them doubt their whole path. A person's silence can become a reason to question their value. When you do not know what truly matters to you, life does not need a great disaster to disturb you. A small comment is enough. A delayed message is enough. A bad morning is enough. Buddhist wisdom begins with a very practical truth. The mind becomes less reactive when the heart knows what it is devoted to. Purpose is not only about success, money, reputation, or achievement. Those things may be useful, but they are too unstable to become the root of peace. Real purpose is deeper. It is the value you refuse to betray even when life becomes uncomfortable. It is the direction you return to after disappointment. It is the quiet reason you rise again when no one applauds you. A person without purpose asks, "Why did they treat me like this?" A person with purpose asks, "What kind of human being do I choose to remain, even after this?" That question changes everything. When your values are clear, your emotions still appear, but they no longer become your master. Anger may visit, yet it does not decide your words. Fear may come, yet it does not choose your future. Shame may whisper, yet it does not name your identity. Each morning, before the world starts pulling at your attention, ask yourself one simple question. What is worth protecting in me today? Maybe the answer is patience. Maybe it is honesty. Maybe it is discipline. Maybe it is compassion. Maybe it is the promise that you will not let someone else's confusion turn you into a bitter person. This question is not small. It is a spiritual practice. It reminds you that your life is not only a series of reactions. Your life is a path. There is an old teaching often shared in the spirit of Buddhism. Your work is to discover your work, and then give yourself to it with your whole heart. Whether or not the exact words matter less than the truth behind them. You are not here merely to survive every passing mood. You are here to discover the way your life can serve wisdom, healing, clarity, and love. Think of a young monk who entered a monastery with sincere hope, but very little confidence. Other novices learned faster. They memorized chants with ease. They sat still longer during meditation. Some villagers laughed at him because he looked clumsy when he worked in the garden. One evening, wounded by their words, he told his teacher, "Maybe I am not meant for this path. Everyone can see how slow I am." The teacher did not comfort him quickly. Instead, he asked, "Did you come here to be praised, or did you come here to understand your mind?" The young monk lowered his eyes. Something inside him became still. He realized he had forgotten his reason. He had entered the path to become free, yet he was still living as a prisoner of applause. From that day, the laughter outside lost much of its power. It did not disappear, but it no longer owned him. This is what purpose does. It does not remove every storm. It gives you a reason not to become the storm. Without purpose, you complain because every discomfort feels meaningless. With purpose, even difficulty becomes material for practice. Without purpose, you argue because being right feels like survival. With purpose, you can let many things pass because your energy is needed for something higher. Without purpose, you demand explanations because uncertainty feels unbearable. With purpose, you can keep walking even when some people never tell you why they hurt you. A clear purpose becomes a lamp inside the chest. It does not shout. It does not need to defeat anyone. It simply reminds you where home is. So before asking why life is so noisy, ask whether your inner direction is strong enough. Before blaming the world for shaking you, ask whether you have built a foundation inside yourself. Peace does not begin when the road becomes smooth. Peace begins when you finally know why you are walking. Chapter 2. Do not give others control over your inner state. The first moment of freedom then arrives quietly. It is the moment after someone offends you, ignores you, criticizes you, or tries to pull you into conflict, and you realize you do not have to hand them your mind. Something happens outside. A message appears. A voice rises. A person says your name with disrespect. Old habits may rush forward and demand a reaction. The body tightens. The heart beats faster. Thoughts gather evidence. Yet, in that small space, before you respond, there is a door. If you enter that door with awareness, you begin to understand what Buddhist practice has been pointing to all along. The event is one thing. Your reaction is another. Most suffering grows because people fuse these two together. They believe, they made me angry. More accurately, anger arose in response to what happened, and then the mind identified with it. This distinction is not cold or unrealistic. It is the beginning of self-mastery. No one can force you to carry the poison they throw. A person may act harshly, but you still decide whether their harshness becomes the weather inside your chest. Becoming unaffected does not mean becoming numb. That mistake creates many wounded people who pretend to be peaceful, while resentment grows beneath the surface. Real steadiness is different. You feel the emotion, but you do not become the emotion. You notice the pain, but you do not let pain write the next sentence of your life. Anger may have information, but it rarely has wisdom when it is still burning. A reactive mind says, "I must answer now." A trained mind says, "I must understand what is happening inside me first." Consider a person who receives a cruel text late at night. In the past, the phone would become a doorway into suffering. They would type quickly, delete, type again, defend themselves, accuse the other person, read the message 10 times, lose sleep, and wake with the same heaviness. On this night, something changes. The message still hurts. The body still reacts. But instead of obeying the first impulse, they put the phone down. One hand rests on the chest. One breath comes in. Another breath goes out. A question appears. Will this reaction bring me closer to peace or deeper into the fire? That question is not weakness. It is power returning. The person may still need to respond tomorrow. A boundary may still need to be set. A conversation may still be necessary. But the response will not be written by the wound while it is bleeding. This is the heart of the principle. Do not argue with every disturbance. Do not complain to every person who will listen. Do not ask the one who hurt you to become the doctor of the wound they created. First, return to yourself. The ego believes that immediate reaction protects dignity. Wisdom knows that dignity is often protected by restraint. When you pause, you are not surrendering. You are refusing to let someone else's lack of control become your own. Many people punish themselves with their own anger long after the other person has gone on with their day. The insult was brief, but the inner replay becomes endless. The disagreement lasted 10 minutes, but the mind continues arguing in the shower, in traffic, during dinner, before sleep. In this way, anger becomes a second injury. The first injury came from outside. The second is maintained from within. Buddhist wisdom does not ask you to deny anger. It asks you to see its cost. What does this anger do to your breath? What does it do to your sleep? What does it do to the softness of your heart? What does it make you say that later requires repair? The moment you see the cost clearly, you become less willing to worship every reaction as truth. Try this practice the next time you are provoked. Stop before answering. Feel your feet. Relax your jaw. Breathe once with the full body. Silently say, "I still have a choice." That sentence is a small bell of awakening. It reminds you that between stimulus and response, the path opens. Untouchable does not mean unreachable. It means your peace is not available for careless hands. Someone may misunderstand you, but misunderstanding does not have to become self-doubt. Someone may criticize you, but criticism does not have to become identity. Someone may leave without explaining, but their silence does not have to become a courtroom where you sentence yourself to unworthiness. Protecting peace is not selfish. It is the foundation from which clearer action becomes possible. A disturbed mind creates disturbed speech. A centered mind can speak firmly without cruelty, step away without hatred, and choose silence without bitterness. This is why inner control matters. Life will keep offering situations you did not order. People will keep revealing parts of themselves you cannot manage. The question is not whether disturbance will appear. The question is whether you will continue to sign your peace over to it. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to care. Still, you are not required to become a prisoner of every passing behavior. The day you stop handing others the remote control to your inner world, you begin to live from a place no insult can easily reach. Chapter 3. When you are insulted, do not lose yourself. An insult has a strange power only when you agree to carry it. At first, it arrives as sound, text, tone, gesture, or public embarrassment. Then the mind rushes in and tries to make meaning. Maybe they are right. Maybe everyone sees me this way. Maybe I must prove them wrong. In that moment, the insult is no longer outside you. It has entered the room of identity. Buddhist wisdom asks you to stop at the threshold. Not every word directed at you deserves a home inside you. Some words are only the overflow of another person's confusion. Some attacks are nothing more than someone else's pain looking for a target. A person who is burning inside will often try to hand you a piece of that fire. If you grab it, both of you burn. If you see it clearly, the fire remains where it began. This does not mean you excuse disrespect. It means you refuse to become disrespectful in response. There is a difference between setting a boundary and losing your center. One protects the heart, the other gives the wound control. Many people believe patience means allowing others to mistreat them. That is not patience. That is abandonment of the self. True patience is the strength to remain clear while deciding what must be done. You can say, "Do not speak to me that way," without hatred. You can leave a conversation without revenge. You can end access without needing to destroy the other person. The untrained mind wants to win the moment. The trained mind wants to preserve the path. Hatred answered with, hatred does not end hatred. It only changes hands. When someone insults you, look deeper. What are they revealing? Perhaps insecurity, perhaps jealousy, perhaps fear, perhaps a habit learned from their own pain. This does not make their behavior acceptable, but it keeps your mind from worshipping their words as truth. Imagine a person entering a quiet temple and shouting at the Buddha. The anger is loud, the accusation is sharp. Those nearby expect a defense. Instead, the Buddha asks gently, if a gift is offered and the other person does not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The angry man answers, to the one who offered it. The Buddha says, then I do not accept your anger. Whether told as a traditional story or a teaching tale, the lesson is simple and powerful. You are not obligated to receive every emotional package delivered to your door. Insults often tempt you into complaint. You call someone and repeat every detail. Then you call another person and repeat it again. Each retelling feels like release, but sometimes it becomes rehearsal. The wound is polished until it shines in the mind. Instead of moving through the pain, you keep giving it a stage. A wiser practice is to name the hurt without feeding the drama. That word stung. My pride reacted. My body wants to defend. A boundary may be needed. Clear language heals. Complaint without awareness hardens the wound. Arguments work the same way. You may believe you are defending truth, but often you are defending a bruised self-image. Before arguing, ask, what am I protecting right now? My values or my ego? Values can stand firm without screaming. Ego needs noise because it is afraid silence means defeat. When insult appears, breathe before you speak. Let the first heat pass. Ask whether the person in front of you is capable of a real conversation. Some people are not seeking understanding. They are seeking reaction. Offering your peace to someone committed to chaos is not compassion. It is carelessness with your own mind. This principle becomes even more important in public spaces, families, workplaces, and online life. Modern culture rewards immediate outrage. A single comment can pull a person into hours of mental argument. But not every battle is worthy of your nervous system. Not every opinion deserves your breath. Not every insult requires a reply. The deepest form of self-respect is not always proving people wrong. Sometimes it is letting them remain wrong while you remain free. If action is needed, take it from clarity. If distance is needed, create it with dignity. If speech is needed, speak without poison. The goal is not to appear calm while secretly boiling. The goal is to understand that your peace is more valuable than the satisfaction of a sharp comeback. After the insult passes, sit with what it touched. Did it awaken an old shame? Did it threaten your need to be admired? Did it expose how much you still depend on outside approval? Here the insult becomes a teacher, not because the person was right, but because your reaction shows where healing remains unfinished. A wound that is fully seen no longer has to rule from the shadows. Over time, you will notice something beautiful. The same words that once shattered you will begin to pass through with less force. Not because you became hard, but because you became rooted. A tree does not argue with every wind. It grows deeper. Let your practice be like that. When insult comes, do not collapse into it. Do not throw it back blindly. Do not ask it to explain your worth. See it, learn from it, set the boundary if needed, and return to the path. What you refuse to receive cannot live in you. Chapter 4. Let your way of living. Answer, slander. Being misunderstood can feel more painful than being disliked. Dislike at least feels direct. Misunderstanding creates a strange helplessness. Someone tells a story about you that is not complete, not fair, or not true. A rumor moves faster than your explanation. A person speaks about your character while knowing only one chapter of your life. The mind panics. It wants to chase every word, correct every version, defend every detail, and make sure no one sees you through a distorted lens. Yet Buddhist wisdom asks a difficult question. How much of your peace are you willing to spend trying to manage other people's perception? If you live for a perfect reputation, you will become exhausted, because reputation lives in minds you cannot control. Character is different. Character lives in your choices. A person may speak badly about you from jealousy, anger, insecurity, pain, or simple misunderstanding. Their words may be loud for a season. Still, their words do not define the truth of your life. The way you treat people when no one is watching, the honesty you practice when shortcuts are available, the restraint you show when revenge would be easy, the compassion you keep when bitterness would be understandable. These things speak longer than gossip. They speak quietly, but they speak with roots. There are times when you must clarify. Silence is not always wise. If a false statement harms your work, your safety, your family, or another person, truth may need to be spoken clearly. But there is a difference between wise clarification and frantic self-defense. Wise clarification comes from steadiness. Frantic defense comes from fear. The first protects truth. The second begs for approval. Many people suffer because they cannot tolerate being misread even for a moment. They want immediate justice, immediate understanding, immediate repair. Life rarely moves that quickly. Sometimes truth unfolds slowly. Sometimes people need time to see patterns. Sometimes the best answer is not another speech, but continued integrity. Think of someone in a workplace who becomes the subject of quiet gossip. A co-worker suggests they are arrogant because they do not join every conversation. Another says they are difficult because they set boundaries. The old self might run from person to person, explaining, pleading, collecting allies. The wiser self chooses a different path. They remain respectful. They do their work carefully. They speak truthfully. They help where help is appropriate. They do not perform kindness to win the room. They simply continue living from their values. Over time, people begin to notice. The gossip loses its shape because reality keeps contradicting it. This is not passive. It is disciplined. It takes strength to let your life answer what your mouth does not need to chase. The desire to complain becomes very strong when you are spoken against. Complaint feels like a place to put the hurt. In small doses, honest sharing with a trusted person can bring clarity. But repeated complaint can become another form of attachment. You keep circling the same story, hoping pain will shrink through repetition, yet often it grows. Instead of asking, how many people can I convince that I was wronged? Ask, what response would keep me aligned with my values? That shift returns power to you. Slander also invites endless argument. The mind creates imaginary conversations. You win debates in your head with people who are not present. You prepare speeches they may never hear. Hours vanish into inner courtrooms. No peace is found there. A mind obsessed with defending itself cannot rest in itself. Buddhist practice teaches you to see thoughts as thoughts, not commands. When the inner argument begins, notice it. The mind is trying to defend an image. The heart wants to be seen. Fear is asking for certainty. Recognition softens the grip. Another trap appears when you demand explanations. Why did they say that? Why would they think that? Why didn't they ask me first? Some answers may come, many will not. Waiting for every person to explain their ignorance is a painful way to live. Their lack of understanding does not have to become your prison. You can choose your conduct without receiving their confession. Compassion becomes essential here, but compassion is often misunderstood. It does not mean pretending the harm did not happen. It does not mean staying close to people who keep poisoning your name. It means you do not let their behavior poison your heart. You can create distance with a clean mind. You can say the truth without hatred. You can wish someone freedom from their own confusion while no longer offering them access to your life. This is mature compassion. It protects both dignity and peace. A stable character does not need constant applause. It does not tremble every time someone forms an opinion. It knows that some people will misunderstand you because they are looking through their own wounds. Some will judge you because your boundaries disturb their expectations. Some will dislike you because your growth reminds them of the places where they stopped growing. Let them have their process. Keep yours. There is a quiet freedom in accepting that not everyone will know your heart. Once you accept this, you stop auditioning for every mind. Your energy returns. Your breath deepens. Life becomes less about being perfectly seen and more about being truly aligned. If someone speaks ill of you, do not rush to become smaller, louder, or crueler. Stand in the simple discipline of your values. Let your actions gather evidence over time. Let your kindness remain clean. Let your honesty remain firm. Let your boundaries remain clear. In the end, the most powerful response to slander is not a louder argument. It is a life so grounded that false words cannot find deep soil. Chapter 5. Guard your mind like a sacred garden. Your mind is not empty space. It is a living field. Every thought you repeat becomes a seed. Every emotion you feed becomes a root. Every story you rehearse becomes a path your awareness learns to walk again and again. Many people protect their homes more carefully than they protect their minds. They lock doors, check accounts, guard possessions, and choose who enters their private rooms. Yet they allow any fear, rumor, memory, comparison, or resentment to move freely through the inner world. Then they wonder why peace feels impossible. Buddhist wisdom teaches that the quality of your life is deeply shaped by the quality of attention you cultivate. Attention is not a small thing. It is nourishment. Whatever receives your repeated attention grows stronger. If you water fear, fear grows. If you water resentment, resentment grows. If you water gratitude, gratitude grows. If you water clarity, clarity grows. This does not mean you should pretend negative thoughts do not exist. Denial is not mindfulness. Forcing yourself to be positive can become another form of inner violence. A sacred garden still has weeds. The difference is that a conscious gardener notices them before they take over. Guarding the mind begins with honest observation. What thoughts do you return to when you are tired? What story appears when someone does not reply? What belief rises when you make a mistake? Which memories do you keep replaying as if replaying them might change the ending? These questions reveal the seeds already growing. A thought may say, "I am not enough." Another may say, "People always leave." Another may say, "I must prove myself or I have no value." If these thoughts are believed without question, they become the climate of your life. You start seeing the world through them. Neutral events become threats. Small delays become rejection. Constructive feedback becomes humiliation. Silence becomes abandonment. The world has not changed much, but the garden has become overrun. Mindfulness is the practice of seeing this before it becomes destiny. During meditation, you are not trying to force the mind into blankness. A blank mind is not the goal. Clear seeing is the goal. Sit quietly, and you will notice how thoughts arise by themselves. Some are useful, some are painful, some are old, some are absurd. A trained mind learns to observe without immediately obeying. Here is fear. Here is planning. Here is anger. Here is the old story of not being wanted. By naming what appears, you create space. In that space, freedom begins. Without space, thought becomes identity. With space, thought becomes weather. Weather can be intense, but it is not the sky. Try a simple evening practice. Before sleep, write down one thought that repeated itself during the day. Do not judge it. Do not decorate it. Put it on paper plainly. Then ask, is this an absolute truth? Or is this a story my mind learned to tell? A person who writes, I always fail, may realize the word always is not true. Another who writes, no one respects me, may notice that one painful interaction has been expanded into a total belief. Someone who writes, I cannot handle this, may remember many difficult things they have already survived. This is how you pull weeds from the root. Not by hating them, but by seeing them clearly. Guarding the mind also means being careful with what you consume, the conversations you join, the media you watch, the voices you follow, the environments you tolerate. All of these plant seeds. If every morning begins with outrage, comparison, and noise, do not be surprised when the mind feels restless by noon. If every night ends with resentment, gossip, or fear, do not be surprised when sleep becomes heavy. Choose input with reverence. Your mind is where your life is experienced. Treat it as sacred. This principle directly connects with the teaching not to complain. Complaint is often the repeated watering of dissatisfaction. Sometimes a problem must be named. Naming a problem can lead to action. But complaint without responsibility trains the mind to search for what is wrong before it notices what is possible. The same is true with argument. Repeated argument trains the mind to see life as opposition. Endless demands for explanation train the mind to believe peace requires complete certainty. A guarded mind learns another way. It asks, what is useful here? What can I learn? What must be released? What action is clean? This does not make life easy, but it makes the inner world less chaotic. The teaching that the mind shapes experience is not a slogan. It is a daily reality. Two people can face the same delay. One becomes furious, convinced life is against them. Another breathes, adjusts, and uses the moment to return to presence. The event is similar. The garden is different. Two people can hear criticism. One collapses into shame. Another listens for what is useful and leaves the rest. Again, the garden is different. Peace grows where certain thoughts are no longer treated as kings. If you want a calmer life, begin by becoming a wiser gardener. Do not let every seed take root. Do not water every fear. Do not build a home for every resentment. Notice, breathe, question, release, and return. Over time, the inner field changes. Less bitterness grows there. Less panic grows there. More patience, gratitude, and strength begin to appear. Then, when life brings storms, the garden may bend, but it will not be destroyed. A protected mind becomes a peaceful home. Chapter 6. Face fear and shame without becoming their servant. Fear and shame are two invisible walls that can make a person's life smaller without anyone else noticing. From the outside, everything may look normal. You go to work, answer messages, smile at the right moments, and complete the necessary tasks. Inside, another life is happening. Fear tells you not to try because failure would hurt. Shame tells you not to be seen because exposure would prove you are not enough. Fear says, what if something goes wrong? Shame says, something is wrong with you. Together, they can keep you from speaking honestly. loving fully, taking opportunities, setting boundaries, beginning again, or becoming the person you sense you could be. Buddhist wisdom does not treat these emotions as enemies to be destroyed. It invites you to look at them directly. Running from fear makes it larger. Hiding shame gives it a private throne. What is seen with compassion begins to lose its power. Fear often arises around the unknown. You fear failing at something new. Rejection becomes a possibility. Success may even frighten you because it asks you to become visible, responsible, and changed. Beneath many fears is the same basic trembling. Can I survive what might happen? Shame carries a different wound. It does not only say, I did something wrong. It says, I am wrong. That is why shame feels so heavy. Guilt can guide repair. Shame attacks identity. Many adults are still living under sentences spoken years ago by parents, teachers, partners, communities, or past versions of themselves. One careless phrase became a hidden law. You are too sensitive. You are not smart enough. You always ruin things. No one will stay with you. Later in life, a small event touches that old law, and the body reacts as if the past is happening again. The practice begins when you recognize that fear and shame are often mental constructions. They are stories, strong stories, yes, old stories perhaps, but not fixed truths. A story can be questioned, a pattern can be softened, a wound can be understood. Mindfulness gives you the ability to watch these emotions without drowning in them. When fear rises, instead of saying, I am afraid, so I cannot move, try saying, fear is present, and I can breathe with it. When shame appears, instead of saying, I am broken, try saying, shame is here, and it is asking for compassion. This shift may sound small, but it changes your relationship with the emotion. You are no longer the servant, you become the witness. A person who fears speaking in a meeting may believe the fear is about words. After sitting with it, they may discover the deeper wound. I am afraid people will see I am not intelligent. That discovery is painful, but it is also liberating. Once the root is visible, healing can begin. The person can practice speaking not to prove worth, but to stop obeying an old shame. Another person may avoid relationships because they fear being left. At first, they call it independence. Later, with honesty, they see that the heart is protecting itself from an old abandonment. Awareness does not instantly erase the fear, but it makes a new choice possible. Self-compassion is essential here. Many people try to heal shame by attacking themselves for having it. They say, why am I like this? I should be over this. Other people are stronger. That inner cruelty deepens the wound. Buddhism offers another way. Meet yourself as you would meet a suffering friend. If a friend came to you trembling, you would not say, you are pathetic. You would speak gently. You would stay close. Offer that same mercy inward. Compassion does not make you weak. It gives the wounded part of you enough safety to change. This principle also teaches you not to ask endlessly for explanations from people who awakened your fear or shame. Sometimes an explanation is useful. A mature conversation can bring closure. But many people become trapped because they believe they cannot heal until someone else explains why they rejected them, betrayed them, dismissed them, or failed to love them correctly. That belief gives your freedom to the person who hurt you. Some explanations never come. Some explanations are dishonest. Some are too shallow to satisfy the wound. Healing begins when you stop waiting for someone else to define your pain before you are allowed to release it. Do not complain about the fear as if it has final authority. Do not argue with shame as if logic alone can defeat it. Do not ask the past to become fair before you begin living again. Turn toward the emotion. Breathe with it. Understand its origin. Then take one clean step. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is movement with awareness. Self-respect is not the absence of shame. It is the refusal to let shame write your future. A wise life is not built by becoming fearless. Even the bravest people feel trembling. The difference is that they no longer treat trembling as a command to stop. Each time you face fear with mindfulness, the wall becomes thinner. Each time you meet shame with compassion, the old sentence loses authority. One day you may notice that something which once controlled you now simply visits and leaves. That is freedom. Not dramatic, not loud, but real. The heart opens, the body breathes, life becomes wider. You discover that the parts of you you once wanted to hide were not proof of failure. They were places waiting for kindness. Chapter 7. Turn every person into a teacher without letting everyone stay. Some people bring warmth into your life. Others bring tests you never requested. A few arrive like mirrors you would rather not look into. Buddhist wisdom offers a radical way to meet all of them. Every person can become a teacher. This does not mean every person is wise. It does not mean every person deserves access to you. It means each encounter can reveal something that helps you grow. If you are willing to look without immediately collapsing into blame, the kind person teaches gratitude. The patient person teaches steadiness. The difficult person teaches where your peace still depends on others behaving correctly. The person who wounds you may teach boundaries. The person who triggers envy may show a desire you have not admitted. The person who ignores you may reveal how much of your worth is still waiting for response. This perspective is not easy, especially when the hurt is fresh. Pain naturally says, "Why did they do this to me?" Practice adds another question. What is this showing me about my own mind? That second question does not erase accountability. If someone harms you, the harm remains real. If distance is needed, distance is wise. But the question prevents pain from becoming useless. It allows even difficult experience to become part of awakening. Imagine a young monk who complains to his teacher about another monk in the monastery. "He irritates me every day," the young monk says. "His voice is loud, his habits are careless, and I cannot meditate when he is near." The teacher listens and replies, "Without him, you would believe you already had patience. He is showing you where your mind still catches fire." The young monk does not like the answer. Most of us would not like it. Yet over time, he begins to observe himself. The other monk's behavior is still unpleasant, but the real discovery is inside. Irritation rises before the sound is even finished. Judgment comes quickly. The body tightens. The mind builds a case. Seeing this, the young monk begins to train, not by pretending to enjoy what bothers him, but by learning not to become the irritation. This is how people become teachers. They reveal the machinery of the self. A person who criticizes you may reveal your hunger for approval. Someone who succeeds where you feel stuck may reveal envy, but envy can become a guide if you do not deny it. It may show what you long for. It may show where you gave up on yourself. Someone who disrespects your time may teach the boundary you have avoided setting. A person who keeps taking from you may teach the difference between compassion and self-abandonment. Notice the important balance here. Seeing everyone as a teacher does not mean tolerating harmful behavior. Many spiritual people confuse learning with staying. They think, "This person is teaching me patience, so I must remain." Not always. Sometimes the lesson is to leave without hatred. Sometimes the lesson is to stop explaining yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Sometimes the lesson is to love from a distance. Sometimes the lesson is that your peace requires a locked door. Buddhism is not a path of passivity. It is a path of awakened response. If a relationship repeatedly damages your dignity, the teaching may not be endure more. It may be wake up and choose differently. This principle also softens the habit of complaint. When every difficult person becomes only a villain in your story, complaint feels natural. You repeat what they did, how unfair it was, how wrong they are. Again, honest sharing can be healthy, but endless complaint keeps your attention fixed on their behavior instead of your awakening. A teacher-centered view asks, "What is mine to learn?" That question returns energy to your path. Arguments also lose some of their grip. If someone disagrees with you, perhaps the lesson is clearer speech. If they refuse to listen, perhaps the lesson is not to waste sacred energy where no openness exists. If they expose a blind spot, humility becomes the lesson. Humility is one of the quiet gifts of this practice. It reminds you that wisdom can come from unexpected places. A child can teach presence. An elder can teach patience. A difficult co-worker can teach restraint. A stranger can teach kindness. Even someone who behaves poorly can teach you the cost of living unconsciously. The whole world becomes a monastery when the mind is willing to learn. Still, never confuse learning with self-erasure. Healthy boundaries are part of wisdom. Compassion includes yourself. You can thank an experience inwardly and still walk away. You can understand someone's pain without volunteering to be wounded by it. You can forgive without returning. Forgiveness means you no longer carry the burning coal. It does not mean you hand the person another match. When you stop demanding that everyone treat you perfectly before you can grow, life becomes rich with instruction. Every interaction becomes a bell. Some bells are gentle, others are harsh. Each one can wake you. The question changes from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "How can this help me become more awake, more compassionate, more honest, and more free?" That question is powerful. It turns daily life into practice. It turns irritation into self-knowledge. It turns disappointment into discernment. It turns pain into wisdom without romanticizing the pain. Walk through the world this way, and you will become harder to disturb, not because people become easier, but because you become more skillful. You learn from the kind, the careless, the loving, the jealous, the honest, the confused. Then you choose who belongs close to your heart. Everyone can teach you something. Not everyone gets to stay. Chapter 8. Build an ethical code that cannot be bought by comfort. Inner peace is not created only by meditation, breathing, or positive thinking. A mind cannot rest deeply while a person keeps betraying their own conscience. This is why Buddhist wisdom places such importance on ethical living. Ethics are not a cage built by religion. They are roots. Without roots, even a beautiful tree falls when the storm comes. Without principles, a person can be pushed around by desire, fear, approval, pressure, temptation, and convenience. One day they say yes because they want to be liked. Another day they lie because truth feels costly. Later they harm others because anger feels justified. Eventually, the outer life may still look successful, but the inner life becomes noisy. Peace requires alignment. Your actions, words, and values must begin to recognize each other. In Buddhism, the 5 precepts offer a foundation for this alignment. They are not meant as harsh commandments forced from the outside. They are commitments chosen by a person who understands that every action shapes the mind. The first precept is to avoid harming living beings. At the simplest level, this means honoring life. More deeply, It invites you to become careful with the impact of your presence. Do your words injure unnecessarily? Do your habits damage your body? Do your choices ignore the suffering of animals, communities, or the natural world? Non-harming is not only about what your hands do, it is about the atmosphere your life creates. The second precept is not taking what is not freely given. This is the ground of honesty and respect. It means more than avoiding theft. It means not taking someone's time through manipulation, not taking credit for another person's work, not taking emotional energy while offering no care in return. A peaceful mind respects boundaries because it does not want to live by hidden theft. The third precept asks you to avoid sexual misconduct. In modern life, this means bringing responsibility, consent, honesty, and care into intimacy. Desire without ethics can cause deep wounds. A person who uses affection to control, seduce, escape loneliness, or prove worth leaves confusion behind. Right conduct in relationships protects both your heart and the hearts of others. The fourth precept is truthful speech. Words are not small. They can heal, divide, clarify, manipulate, bless, or poison. To speak truthfully is not to speak harshly whenever you feel something. Truth without compassion can become violence. Compassion without truth can become avoidance. Wise speech asks, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is this the right time? This precept directly connects with the title of this audiobook. Do not complain, because speech that circles negativity without responsibility weakens the mind. Do not argue, because speech used only to defeat another person strengthens the ego. Do not demand explanations from everyone, because speech can become another form of clinging. Speak to create clarity, not chaos. The fifth precept is to avoid intoxicants that cloud the mind. This includes substances, but the spirit is wider. Anything that repeatedly steals awareness deserves examination. Alcohol, drugs, compulsive scrolling, rage, gossip, fantasy, obsession, and constant stimulation can all blur the mind. A clouded mind makes clouded choices. Clear living supports clear seeing. These precepts are not about perfection. That must be understood clearly. If ethics become a weapon of shame, they have lost their purpose. The path is not to become flawless overnight. The path is to return again and again. Make a mistake, see it. Repair what can be repaired. Learn, and come back to the root. A person with no ethical code hides from their mistakes. A person with a living ethical code uses mistakes as reminders to wake up. Self-reflection is the daily maintenance of the roots. At the end of the day, ask, where did I act from fear? Where did I speak without care? Where did I betray what I know is right? Where did I honor my values? This is not self-punishment. It is spiritual hygiene. Just as you clean the body, you clean the intentions. Just as you organize a room, you organize the heart. An ethical code also protects you from external pressure. The world will often reward shortcuts. It may praise image over integrity, speed over wisdom, winning over kindness. Friends may encourage compromise. Culture may tell you that everyone lies a little. Everyone uses people a little. Everyone numbs themselves a little. A rooted person does not need to condemn the world. They simply choose differently. There is quiet confidence in knowing what you will not do, even for gain. You may lose certain opportunities because of integrity, yet you keep something more important, the ability to live with yourself without inner conflict. Think of someone offered a benefit that would quietly harm another person. No one may find out. The choice appears easy. The ego says, take it. Fear says, you may not get another chance. Wisdom asks, What kind of mind will I have to live with afterward? If the person chooses what is right, the outer reward may be smaller, but the inner ground becomes stronger. That strength cannot be purchased later. It is built choice by choice. This is why ethics create peace, not because life becomes simple, but because the self becomes less divided. When your conduct aligns with your values, you stop needing so many explanations. You stop arguing with your conscience. You stop complaining that life feels empty while living against what your heart knows. A stable moral foundation becomes a refuge. Like deep roots, it holds you through storms of temptation, criticism, desire, and fear. Build your code carefully. Let it be firm enough to guide you and compassionate enough to let you grow. Then, when life pressures you, you will not have to invent yourself in the moment. You will already know where you stand. Chapter 9. Live with nature, impermanence, and the wisdom of enough. Much suffering begins with the demand that life remains still. You want love not to change, the body not to age, success not to fade, people not to leave, plans not to break, feelings not to shift, and the past not to pass beyond your control. Yet everything in nature teaches the opposite. Seasons turn, leaves fall, rivers move, flowers bloom and disappear. The moon changes shape without shame. Nothing living stays fixed. Buddhist wisdom calls you to see this not as a tragedy, but as the basic rhythm of existence. Peace grows when you stop fighting the rhythm. Living according to nature does not mean becoming passive. It does not mean accepting injustice, neglecting responsibility, or refusing to improve your life. It means understanding the difference between wise effort and violent resistance. Wise effort plants the seed, waters the soil, and gives attention to conditions. Violent resistance screams at the seed for not becoming fruit by morning. Many people live in violent resistance to reality. They complain about change as if complaint can freeze time. They argue with endings as if the heart can force a season to return. They demand explanations from life itself. Why did this happen? Why now? Why me? Some questions are human and deserve tenderness, but if you stay inside them forever, they become chains. Nature does not explain every storm before asking the trees to bend. The tree survives because it knows how to bend. This is not weakness. Flexibility is one of the highest forms of strength. A rigid branch breaks quickly. A living branch moves with the wind. In the same way, a rigid mind suffers more than a responsive mind. When plans change, can you adjust without collapsing? When someone leaves, can you grieve without deciding your life is over? When the body asks for rest, can you listen before illness forces you to stop? Modern life often trains people to disrespect their natural limits. Work longer, achieve more, answer faster, become better, buy more, prove more, show more. Behind this pressure is a belief that enough is always somewhere ahead. Buddhism gently questions that belief. What if enough is not laziness? What if enough is sanity? What if the hunger for constant more is the reason peace keeps moving out of reach? Simplicity is not poverty of life. It is clarity of desire. When you know what truly matters, you stop filling emptiness with noise. Living with nature also means honoring the body. The body has seasons. Energy rises and falls. Emotions move. Sleep is necessary. Silence is necessary. Grief takes time. Healing takes time. You cannot bully the nervous system into peace. Many people complain that they are exhausted while refusing to rest. They argue with their own limits. They ask the body for explanations when the answer has been obvious for years. Slow down. Breathe, eat well, Walk outside. Stop consuming so much noise. Let the mind settle. The body is not your enemy. It is a teacher, speaking through sensation. Mindfulness reconnects you with this natural wisdom. A single breath can bring you back from mental noise to living reality. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of rain, the taste of simple food, the feeling of your feet touching the ground. These are not small details, they are invitations back to presence. A mind lost in complaint misses the world. A mind trapped in argument cannot hear the birds. A mind demanding explanations cannot feel the miracle of being alive in this moment. Nature is always teaching presence because nature exists without pretending to be elsewhere. Living according to nature also includes respect for other beings. When you understand interconnection, you see that your choices ripple outward. The food you consume, the waste you create, the way you treat animals, the way you use resources, the way you speak to people who serve you, none of it is separate from spiritual life. Peace is not only private comfort, it is harmony with the larger web of life. A person cannot claim deep peace while living carelessly toward everything around them. The old image of a snake shedding its skin offers another lesson. Growth requires release. The snake does not carry the old skin out of loyalty. It lets go because life demands renewal. You also must shed old identities, old resentments, old attachments, old versions of yourself that once protected you but now restrict you. Maybe you are still carrying a relationship that ended. Perhaps a younger self is still trying to earn approval from someone impossible to please. Maybe an old failure has become a name tag you wear every day. Nature says, "Let the dead leaf fall." The tree does not hate the leaf. It simply does not cling. Imagine someone who spends years mentally holding a relationship that has already ended. They ask why, replay messages, compare themselves to the person who came after, and keep searching for a final explanation. One autumn day, they watch leaves fall from a tree. Nothing dramatic happens, yet something becomes clear. The branch does not chase the leaf. The leaf does not apologize for falling. The season simply changes. Grief may still remain, but resistance softens. Letting go does not mean the love was meaningless. It means clinging is no longer the way to honor it. To live with impermanence is to become tender and strong at the same time. Tender, because you understand that everything is precious. Strong, because you understand that nothing can be owned forever. This wisdom changes how you love, work, age, heal, and begin again. You complain less because you stop expecting life to obey your preferences. You argue less because you no longer need reality to admit defeat. You ask for fewer explanations because you learn to move with mystery. Peace does not come from forcing the river to stop. It comes from learning how to walk beside it. Chapter 10. Let gratitude become inner strength. When the mind is in pain, it naturally searches for what is missing. Missing love, missing apology, missing money, missing certainty, missing recognition, missing time, missing fairness. This search can become so powerful that a person loses sight of everything still holding them. Gratitude is the practice of turning the head, not to deny the darkness, but to notice the lamp still burning somewhere within it. In Buddhist practice, gratitude is not a shallow instruction to smile through suffering. It is not the denial of grief. It is not pretending that injustice is acceptable or that loss does not hurt. Real gratitude is deeper and stronger. It says, "This is difficult, and still, not everything is lost." That one sentence can save a mind from being swallowed whole by despair. Gratitude shifts attention from scarcity to presence. When you focus only on what is absent, the world becomes a room with no doors. When you notice what remains, space opens, breath remains. A body that has carried you this far remains. A lesson remains. A friend may remain. A small chance to begin again remains. Even in seasons of sorrow, some form of support is usually present, though pain may hide it from view. Gratitude trains the eye to see again. This is why it becomes inner strength. A grateful person is not untouched because nothing hard happens. They are steadier because hardship does not fully erase their awareness of goodness. Consider someone going through a painful period at work. Pressure is high. The hours feel long. A colleague is difficult. The mind begins to complain every morning before the day starts. This is unbearable. No one appreciates me. Everything is wrong. Some of those feelings may contain truth. The situation may need change. A boundary may be necessary. A new job may eventually be wise. But while the person is still there, gratitude can prevent the mind from living only in resentment. They begin to notice one supportive co-worker. They recognize the skills they are gaining. They appreciate the income that supports their home. They feel thankful for the strength that helps them continue while making better plans. The job has not magically become perfect. The person has become less imprisoned by one view of it. Gratitude does not replace action. It purifies the mind from which action comes. Without gratitude, action often comes from bitterness. With gratitude, action can come from clarity. This principle helps soften complaint. Complaint says, "Look only at what is wrong." Gratitude says, "See what is wrong clearly, but do not become blind to what is still good." Complaint repeats pain until identity forms around it. Gratitude interrupts that formation. A daily gratitude practice is simple, but not always easy. Each night, write 3 things you are thankful for. Avoid making the list mechanical. Feel each one for a few breaths. I am grateful for the meal that warmed me. I am grateful for the friend who checked on me. I am grateful that I did not react the way I used to. I am grateful for one more day to practice. Over time, the mind learns to search for evidence of grace, not only evidence of danger. This changes the nervous system. It changes relationships. It changes how you wake up. Speaking gratitude aloud is also powerful. Thank someone specifically. Not only thanks, but I appreciate the way you listened without trying to fix me. I noticed your kindness. Your help made my day lighter. Such words strengthen bonds. Many relationships suffer not from a lack of love, but from a lack of expressed appreciation. People become used to each other and stop naming the good. Gratitude brings warmth back into the ordinary. It reminds both giver and receiver that kindness matters. Gratitude is also connected to mindfulness. A hurried mind misses simple blessings. A mindful mind can feel the sacredness of ordinary life. The first sip of water, clean sheets, a quiet morning, the sound of someone laughing in another room, the chance to breathe after a hard cry, the sky changing color at sunset. These moments may seem small until life teaches you that nothing is guaranteed. Gratitude does not make you cling to them. It lets you receive them fully while they are here. In adversity, gratitude becomes even more profound. Ask, what is this teaching me? Not because every painful thing is secretly good, but because wisdom can still be gathered from difficult soil. Ask, what remains available to me? Not because loss is easy, but because the mind needs a place to stand. Ask, who has helped me, even in a small way? Not because everyone stayed, but because not everyone left. These questions train resilience. They turn experience into practice. Bitterness often grows when the mind believes life owes it a different past. Gratitude does not argue with the past. It returns attention to what can be honored now. There is another quiet truth. Gratitude reduces envy. When you are blind to your own blessings, another person's life feels like an accusation. Their success feels like your failure. Their relationship feels like proof of your lack. Their peace feels like something stolen from you. Gratitude brings you back to your own ground. It says, their path is theirs, mine still contains gifts. This does not remove ambition. It removes poison from ambition. You can grow without hating where you are. You can desire more without despising what is already present. As gratitude deepens, positivity becomes less forced. You do not have to repeat empty phrases. The mind naturally begins to notice beauty, support, and possibility. A positive life is not a life without sorrow. It is a life where sorrow is not the only voice allowed to speak. Let gratitude become the voice that says, there is still light. Let it become the hand that steadies you when complaint pulls downward. Let it become the breath that interrupts anger. Let it become the prayer you can practice without needing perfect circumstances. A person rooted in gratitude becomes difficult to defeat, because even difficulty becomes part of the path. Not every day will feel joyful. Some days you will write down gratitude with tears in your eyes. That is still practice, especially then. One day, you may realize gratitude has changed you quietly. You complain less because you see more. You argue less because you feel less deprived. You demand fewer explanations because life itself has become more mysterious, more fragile, and more precious. The heart that can say thank you in the middle of uncertainty has discovered a strength that circumstances cannot easily take away. Conclusion. As I come to the end of these teachings, I do not feel that I have learned how to stop life from hurting. Life will still bring days that do not make sense. People will still speak carelessly. Plans will still change. Endings will still arrive before the heart feels ready. Yet I have learned something quieter and more important. Peace is not the reward for controlling everything. Peace is the art of returning to yourself when everything cannot be controlled. For a long time, I thought I needed more explanations before I could let go. I thought I needed people to understand me before I could rest. I thought I needed the past to become fair before I could move forward. But the more I demanded from life, the heavier I became. The turning point was realizing that complaint kept me circling the wound, argument kept me tied to the ego, and endless explanations kept my freedom in someone else's hands. These principles taught me a reverse kind of wisdom. I do not become peaceful by winning every argument. I become peaceful by knowing which arguments are not worthy of my breath. I do not become strong by proving every person wrong. I become strong by living so deeply from my values that false words cannot pull me away from myself. I do not heal by waiting for everyone who hurt me to explain themselves. I heal by seeing my pain clearly, holding it with compassion, and choosing not to build my future around it. If there is one truth I would keep from this whole journey, it is this: nothing outside can fully possess your mind unless attachment opens the door. So I do not choose to become emotionless. I choose to become rooted. I choose a soft heart with strong boundaries. I choose to feel deeply without being ruled completely. I choose to live in the world without letting every wind of the world knock me down. That, to me, is the quiet power of Buddhist wisdom.